Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the problem of Thomas Sowell. So, when it comes to people who focus on black issues, you've probably heard of Thomas Sowell, for that matter, okay? And what I want to talk about is the problem with his way of thinking and why his way of thinking is not only dangerous, shouldn't really be trusted, okay? So, now that I mention that, let's get started. So, when it comes to the answering the question of what exactly is the problem with Thomas Sowell. The problem with Thomas Sowell is simply the fact that he tends to ignore the fact when it comes to the issue of why the black community is not succeeding, that sometimes white people do sabotage shit. Okay? Now let me explain fully what my opinions on Thomas Sowell is. Because the truth of the matter is, Thomas Sowell, I have to admit, even as someone who is left wing, for that matter, and not even just left wing, just down to common sense, a lot of the things he says is true. And a lot of the reasons why the black community is not succeeding is simply due to the fact that a lot of us have these backwards ways of thinking, like, oh, if you're very smart and articulate and so on and so forth, um, you're trying to act white. He has talked about issues, things like that, as well as, of course, other things to mention as well. Of course, to add to that, the whole, you know, the whole lack of organization for Black people when we're trying to do business and so on and so forth. Those are things he mentioned. And even though in part that is definitely true for why our community is not succeeding, you also have to be aware, like a lot of things in life, there's not just one way of looking at things. You also have to keep in mind, too, that sometimes people do sabotage shit. Whether it could be, you know, obviously all the black towns that were destroyed in the past, to even Africa, all of them, all of the planes that were flying that for some mysterious weird reason end up being end up always killing leaders in them, big time leaders, or in other words, all the great leaders of Africa that actually seem like they're actually serious, all seemingly all dying in a plane crash. You have to be aware though, and that's the truth of the matter about life, okay? That sometimes people do sabotage shit. And sometimes people just don't want to see you succeed. So that's a problem with his way of thinking. Besides, there is documented facts of black successful communities that were destroyed simply because they were black and they didn't want to see them succeed. So just Tulsa, Oklahoma, um, was destroyed. It was even referred to as a Black Wall Street because of how successful it was. It was destroyed, and there's stories that are being uncovered of many black towns, you know, and who knows, maybe even cities that existed in the Western United States that were actually doing quite well, especially when you only have to you're only able to work with other black people that were destroyed simply because they were successful. And the whites, the only thing they could come up with is some excuses that, oh, somebody touched a white person, particularly a white female or some crap like that, and just made shit up and all that type of stuff. And it's clear as day that they destroyed it because they didn't like the fact that it was successful. That's the truth of the matter. And that's what we need to understand. Because what if we actually started as a black community to really start doing the things that we were supposed to do, everything properly, and so on and so forth, and we actually start seeing progress and our community starts building money and stuff, and then white people sabotage shit and attack and destroy the cities, then our community, let alone our race, would really be screwed up in the head, for that matter, if that were to happen, to be quite honest with you, because it's like we did everything that we were supposed to do and it still failed. So we'd be even more screwed up when it comes to being able to see our community actually being able to succeed. So I'm trying to prevent that from happening. So the truth of the matter is, instead of just blaming ourselves for why we're not succeeding, we have to keep our eyes open. There are people from the outside who would sabotage shit. This is not um something to pretend that it doesn't happen. It can happen, and it has happened for that matter. So that's a problem with his way of thinking, because everything is just, for him, is just about us taking accountability and so on and so forth. And a lot of it, yes, it is true. Black people do need to take accountability and realize a lot of the things that we do actually is not good. But at the same time, you also have to keep in mind, though, that people can sabotage shit, and it has happened. And referring to people specifically, you already know white people can sabotage shit. So the truth of the matter is, you have to keep your eyes open. There's no one way answer to it, for that matter. We have to be aware of both things that are keeping us down, for that matter, whether it's ourselves or people from the outside world. And that's the truth of the matter, for that matter, to be quite honest with you. Okay? And if we keep our eyes open on just simply ourselves, if the whites happen to destroy it because they don't like seeing us succeed, then our psychology will be even more screwed up in the head as a community, and there will be a much greater sense of hopelessness, as well as massive civil unrest and so on and so forth in our community. So it's best to not entertain that way of thinking. We have to be aware that there are a lot of people that don't want to see us succeed because we're black. So that's the truth of the matter. And anyway, this is all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And simply put, I'm out. So bye.